close. It's a bit too much now.
Yeah, that would be it. Yeah, you go by the two pictures up there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in at the same amount.
Okay.
Is that live now?
Yeah, you see it there at the top, but it will also be recorded. Later on, people can watch it later on.
Yeah.
All right, what time is it, darling?
Time check. 00:50 hours.
It's almost 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. We
Please.
can't sleep. I had a fabulous idea to buy us tiramisu. I don't know if I pronounce
What do you call it? Soup.
No, tiramisu.
All right. Yeah.
It's an Italian dessert, and I didn't realize there's coffee in it. So we are both wide awake.
Like this.
And instead of, we have this sometimes, I have often, that I lie awake all night and I meditate and read, try to sleep, meditate, read.
Yeah, what type of meditation do you do? This is what we've
Yeah.
been practicing this together. I'm asking her this question because I know what we do, but you guys don't know what we do when we can't sleep.
You speak up a bit, otherwise they might really.
Oh no!
I'm loud. You're soft spoken. So, but anyway, yeah.
So I know what meditation we use, but I just want you guys to know what we've been practicing, what we practice when we lie down in bed night time and you can't sleep. So what do you practice?
Well, at the moment, it is here. We are in England, UK, and we have a spell of frost, freezing nights. So what we do then, because we don't have the heating on, especially not in the bedroom. This is where we are. This is our bedroom. This is me.
And
this is Jose.
Me.
And we made these paintings 20 years ago.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We don't change at all, do we?
I made this one. I painted my wonderful husband, and he painted me when my hair was still black, if you can see it.
But I am colorblind, so I was looking at it, and it's possibly not correct flesh color. Yours, is it? When I done it with you.
Yeah.
Is that flesh colour?
Yeah.
I always thought it wasn't because of my colour blindness.
No, if you had painted me green, I would have told you. But anyway, so it is cold in our home as well. It's sometimes so cold that our hands, my hands are cold.
Funny, you've been standing there 20 years and I
never realized
was never really sure about it.
No. Anyway, then so we practiced Tumu.
Yeah.
T-U-M-M-O. And so far it's our best-selling book.
Yes.
Tumu, our best-selling book.
That's great.
Look it up on Amazon.
Yeah.
Tumu.
Ahiranta and
Rinpoche.
Mr. and Mrs.
Yeah.
And well, we was having a talk about it the other day, wasn't we? And you know, this Tumu, it comes down from like maybe 4,000 years ago when no, sorry, not 4,000, 2,000.
No, it's from the Bon tradition. It comes from Tibet.
Bon, yeah. So yes,
we don't know how far it's
so
back.
It's before Buddha.
Oh yeah,
it was 2,000. Well, it comes,
well before, yeah.
And it comes from distant past, so it gets. They try to keep it down the lineage so that it's kept purified, and they put like their deities. They call it deities, and they put magic on these books, and strange things do happen. I won't tell you everything that's happened in my life with those lineage books because it just sounds out of it. But we were talking about it, and like fire is fire meditation is the word in English.
Yeah.
And that's been translated now over maybe 5,000 years. I don't know if it's even longer than that. And it's been translated fire in the belly.
Yeah.
I mean,
the inner fire, some people say inner fire.
Yeah. And we have to keep coming back, us guys that have practiced it in past lives, and we keep getting brought back to it over and over again. And we try to work with it, and Ahiranta's doing very sacred work at the moment, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what you guys think, but she's a
Putting
spirit is taken into her, and she's completely obsessed in and I
creating,
let her get on with it because I
yeah,
know the spirit's working,
yeah,
and she's totally focused on banging them out, bang, bang, bang.
creating books.
I've
Yeah,
never seen anything like that in this life,
no,
and I don't try to distract her at all. I try to, I serve her everything
yeah,
she
you
wants.
support me.
I give her
Yeah,
food, I give her
yeah,
water,
yeah,
I wash her feet, I wash her bum, I wash
yeah.
her,
No, you do everything. Yeah, it's
and
true. You
no,
always do
no,
anyway. Yeah,
no, but we do things together, really.
yeah.
That's only a joke. And so we were in a discussion like the other day. Fire in the belly. It's something, it just don't make. Yeah, they say that you get this inner warmth, and like they can sit and put a frozen sheet over there in the Himalayas and they dry it out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
That's why we do it now. It's cold here in the
yeah,
UK, so
yeah.
we practicing Tumo. Tumo.
Well,
Mm.
I've had enlightenment, right? And I had to lose the enlightenment because it doesn't. It's a fish out of water in society, so you have to become a normal person. In places like India or wherever, they make it the environment okay for people like that.
Conducive, yeah.
Yeah, because it's just it's not viable for an economic system that requires that you have to work for a living and you have to be a certain kind of person, which is not an enlightened person.
Here in the West,
Yeah, it
yeah.
doesn't work.
No.
And so, but we've been given a task to do these videos. Ahiranta is totally obsessed with book writing. After waiting until the spirit thinks it's done enough, and then I don't know how long that's going to be. A few hundred more books away it's going.
Mm.
But I'm trying to how do you call it? Correct the misunderstandings. It's dangerous, like. But I have had enlightenment, so I have a credential. But this Timu, I'm trying to get to grips with it. And on one part, you've got these guys who's been talking and handing it down through the centuries, and then they talk about fire. And well, I understand how you can do this with the frozen sheets, but I'm thinking, right from when I was a child, I was able to use a feeling in my belly and to use a vision, because you could call me lucky or unlucky. My dad died when I was brought into this world. My mum wasn't the kind of mother, because of that, that would propagate in me the ability to speak and listen and all that. So I had a world of silence for 3 years of my life.
You didn't talk until you was almost 4 years
Yeah.
old. Yeah.
So that, in a way, it gave me an advantage. And
And in solitude.
solitude.
He
Yeah,
was kept in solitude in
yeah,
his cot a lot.
yeah. So I had right from the start. So when I went to school, of course, I was backward in certain things to do with, well, I won't say backwards, I was middle of the road. And I was able to grasp that inner silence all the time. And I would do things like with this feeling in my, because when you have a lot of inner silence, then you sense this in your belly more. And I would use it. Like if I wanted to know what my friend had done on the way to school, I remember I've written it in one of the books somewhere, and I
In
would
one of our many books.
yeah, I would put my feeling
Yeah.
inside of my friend, and then I would feel, and then allow the pictures to develop in my head. And then I would tell him everything he did on his way to school. So it was a feeling of warmth, love.
Yeah, but you could also sense colors, eh?
Yeah, I could sense colours as well.
With his eyes closed,
Yeah,
you could say what
yeah.
color was in front
And
of you.
yeah, this was because of the inner silence that I
Mm.
developed right from the very start.
Yeah.
So, and so, how does this relate to Tumo? Well, I'm working on this, but I think that this warmth, love, right, became in a fire. I don't want to change what's been said about it, but I do know that when you develop this inner fire, this love in your belly, I call it love. You might want to call it's like,
It feels the same as
yeah,
fire.
it's like if you watch an emotional movie, you get a feeling
Yeah.
like we were watching Ghost, and there's a choke up feel, and your eyes become watery. Not that mine does, of course.
No,
I'm a
and
man.
mine neither.
These things does not happen
No,
to me.
it's not my film,
But anyway,
Yeah.
so there's another center up here somewhere that relates to a certain kind of love. So you call that love, and then you get something there too. Sometimes,
Yeah, but that's the energy arising, isn't it?
Yeah.
From the belly,
So what I'm
yeah.
saying is, it's like they call developing the inner fire.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is, it's like this woman is lovely, and if you sat in the Himalayas with a sheet of ice, a blanket that's all water then gone into ice, you put that over you. Did you know that your body will melt that because the ice actually traps the heat? And because they're trying to turn it into something supernatural, it might be. But if you look at science, you'll also find out that ice, like the Eskimos, build snow huts. They live under there because it keeps the heat in. The heat doesn't escape. So if you sat under a frozen blanket, it's the same thing. So your body is going to keep all the heat inside, and then it's going to melt. So I don't think that's such a miracle.
Yeah, well, they
But
generate
they're
so
saying that's
much.
too more, isn't it?
You drink your coffee because you don't like it cold. I will chat a little bit.
Mm,
But when the yogis sit in the Himalayas, they start with a wet sheet and it can freeze depending on the height. But when they accumulate the fire, because it also has to do with visualization. To start with, if you don't know how to start, and Timu, not Timu, the shop in India, in China, but it is written Tumo. Tumu. Let's say Tumu. And you try to visualize the fire to start with if you are a beginner. And for some people, it can take years and years of practice to get it going, that fire. And you have to practice it continuously, regular, because if you stop a week or 2 weeks, it's gone. You have to start by zero again. So it's really an advanced, and you have to be dedicated. But the interesting thing is, Jose, when he started meditating and reached enlightenment because of his process, he didn't know anything. He wasn't raised in a lineage,
lineage.
and
Yeah.
but he started with one sentence: stop mind, stop suffering,
End mind,
end mind,
end
end
suffering.
suffering. And he had so much hatred, which is also a feeling in your belly.
Yeah.
So he transcended the hatred with the help of a Bible into love. And that feeling of love is the same feeling as a fire.
Yeah.
And that is so interesting with you, how it happened. You came upon it.
I use the stories to, like, if you read a story of Jesus, and he loved humanity so much that he gave his life, he put himself up on the cross. When your mind is pure, that is so touching.
Yeah, you visualize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just you and that story, and you see a massive amount of compassion in a human being, and he was so right, and they were so wrong what they done to him, and then you get hit right in the belly with a feeling, and it's like, and there it is, and but there's something more to that too, more as well. You develop love, right? And that's a power in itself, because I used to send that power, and I would see things as well with it. I knew where my sister was going to end up. I knew where my brother, or my brothers and
but that's
sisters.
cities. That are
Yeah,
cities.
but it was to do with this in my belly.
But they didn't tell you. Timu doesn't tell you to generate love. They
No, it
specifically
says
says fire. But because of your experience, you know that what they refer to is the feeling of love from your, and then you have to let it rise up, and then you can generate so much warmth that you can be in a cold environment and survive and keep yourself warm, because it's not only a spiritual thing, it's also a survival tool. Yeah, but you came to it without any guidance, without any, and that is important
I think,
to people to point out.
I know my memories of past lives have come to me,
Yeah,
and I know that
yeah,
I've been involved in uh, Buddhism and stuff like that, and I I've meditated in caves and stuff like that in past lives, and
May I
but I
say
can't
some?
prove that, of course. But only I can know that. Only I can know it for myself. There is something I can prove about my past life, which you did a bit of work on, photographs
Yeah.
and
We
parallel
have to
lives.
do that in a book too.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if I want to just say
reincarnation.
to the viewers, if you have any experiences with this, or you have any questions that we might not address in this live uh,
There's one
session,
thing.
no, but
Mm,
leave a comment down below,
yeah,
and we will answer it. And also for our channel, please subscribe if you haven't already, and also thumbs up, because it's really good for our channel, for the algorithm or something. I hear our friend Craig say that all the time. So, but that's enough for now.
no,
But
no, no.
but
No,
leave a comment down below,
yeah,
and just ask us any questions. We can't answer it right now because I do see people are there, but I can't read it.
yeah.
It's too
Uh,
far. It's too
yeah, it's a
far.
bit far.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
there is something else I wanted to cover, and about the tumo, and that is the visualization you use,
Hmm.
and the what you're doing in actual what is what it is developing. It's like if I keep focusing, I've seen it, I've proven it with some of the abilities I use. And for instance, I had a friend, and this does relate to Tumo now, and he lives in Canada, and we did a couple of experiments, and this one
Oh
experiment
yes,
we done,
yes.
and I wanted to see if I could see where he was, what he was doing in his room where he was at, like, and so I described to him what I can see, and I said, "There's a curious something standing
A statue.
on your table, a statuette,"
Yeah.
and I said, "I saw a hunter. He had a dog, a rifle, and he was like maybe he had food, and on his table." And he said, "Well, you had this right, you had that right, but," he said, there is something on the table, but it's not what you said, a hunter, but it's the Mother Mary and Jesus." And I said to him, "Well." Because it took me a while to figure it out, and I thought he's praying to it, right, and he's asking it to help him with his livelihood, with his work, hunter, like, food, money.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, I said, "Do you pray to the Mother Mary for her to help you with with your income and your weight?" And he said, "Yeah, that's exactly what I do." So what he'd been doing is projecting energy into that Mother Mary, and that energy on the astral level had turned it into a hunter, a dog, a rifle, and I think he was carrying some food or something. So it was on an astral plane, he had changed the shape of the Mother Mary. So, how does this relate to Tumo? Well, um, in Buddhism, and we have proven now, we did crop circles that around places like Stonehenge, there's beings of light floating around, and they have intelligent design, they move. We got it all on film.
Yeah, look on our channel, it's
Yeah,
there.
and
Yeah.
when we went to Stonehenge, we done some filming, and suddenly our electrics went,
Yeah.
and we
Our
had
mic
a
stopped.
drone up in the sky. That
Yeah.
went a bit strange, but it caught what did it, and it was a being of light.
Yeah.
It was floating around. You've got to check that out.
Yeah.
And and there's other things I've done we've done in circles, and you can project energy. Uh, what example have I got? Well, reading psychometry, for instance, somebody's ring, you can get hold of a ring like that. Nobody in the circle knows who this ring belongs to. It's an experiment. We take something like a ring or a piece of jewelry, and then we read. Some of the psychics can pick up who that person was, what they did in their life, who they were, blah 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 blah, and sometimes it's very very remarkable. You've got to see it.
Yeah.
And then there's like in a cult, or there's a Philip experiment and a Humphrey experiment where there's an empty chair sat in a circle. They're all mediums or psychics, and then they wasn't, they were students, and then they project into an empty chair a personality, and they have to stick with it, and then phenomena started happening.
It's a bit like Aleister Crowley, isn't it?
Yeah, Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
He would.
But what has that to do with Tumu?
I'm going to tell you in a minute, because Timu, right? What you're doing in Timu is exactly the same thing as those people did in an experiment. Is what Aleister Crowley, he would make these ritualistic things, and then a circle, and then each sign, Crowley would he would go into deep meditation for 6 months at a time, and then all these symbols meant something to him. Total belief, total, you know, he's made it. He believes it.
And that's where 100%. You use belief, eh? That is where you can use belief.
Yeah, so what you're doing in Tumo is you're breathing through your nose, lighting energy through your nose is going down into your chakras at the bottom, and then you're breathing up through your perineum, and then they meet in, there's an A there, and then when you breathe out, this A turns into a flame, and then it goes up your spine, and then you repeat the process, and it goes round and round. And what you're doing, you're developing a being of light. And that's because I've seen in their lineage that they're actually talking about becoming, that's eternal light. Like Jesus, he transfigured, and they could see him, he became a being of light. So that's what Timo is ultimately aiming for, that you become
body of light.
Advanced, and you're developing, you keep visualizing it. You're going to sit for hours and hours and hours, and eventually you stop breathing, and then the pranic movement goes, as they call it.
Yeah, some call it the wind.
Yeah, or chi.
So you don't longer live through your lungs, but through the channels in your body. Yeah.
I mean, when I had the enlightenment, I would sit for hours and hours, and then I would come out. I'd think, because the guard would open up the door after 4 hours. I'm sat there from morning up till lunchtime, and bang, I'd be brought out of it because the guard's opening the door with the keys. And then, like, what? Is it lunchtime? Like 1 minute, not 1 second.
That's how it felt.
Yeah, and time stops.
Yeah.
And that's because, and then when I would come back, I would see, when I was just on the edge of coming back, there was no breathing going on. And there was something else keeping me alive. So I'm like sat there 4 hours without breathing, and pranic energy was moving. Although I can't say that I would. Before it happened, I remember that there was a big. First of all, everything goes, and then you get there's a light that comes into you. You don't know what's up, you don't know what's down, you don't know what's sideways, or you don't know, you lose all senses in every way.
The dimensions that, as we know, disappear.
Yeah, so you're in the light, and suddenly everything is gone. Everything stops. Time stands still then. And so that's a being of light. And when these Bond lineage people, I think they go back to some advanced civilization, much more spiritually advanced, and they knew all these things, that we are actually like caterpillars who were, in one day in our evolution, we're going to become the butterflies or the beings of light. And so this breathing process, I think that's all about, that's, for me, I had two choices after the Enlightenment. I could have stuck with the Enlightenment, and because it was like, I felt my intuition, I never went there, but my intuition told me that every cell in my body, if I kept on doing this, was going to go into some kind of light. That's how it felt.
Mm.
And as soon as I heard it, I knew, yeah, that's right. But
Yeah,
I
because
got no proof.
what is important is to stress out that you had no indication. You was never part of a lineage. You didn't know anything about Buddhism. You never read about beings of
Yeah,
light or energy. You were so
crazy
your
innocent.
suffering was so high, so tremendous, that you remembered the sentence that you read on a magazine, and that was "and mind and suffering," and that was all you knew. So lots of people think they need to, and I think you were lucky because you came from former lives with your experience.
Yeah.
You must have been a highly
Oh yeah.
developed soul already, that you could do that in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But that team Sumu that we are now is from one of the 6 yogas. Um, if you want to know more about 6 yogas, leave a comment down below and I will send you some information. Um, that is just a framework for people who don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Because not everybody comes from the point of suffering. I reached what they call right mind realization or self-realization. And also I became from a point of suffering because I was bedbound for such a long time.
5 years.
So um, when you're suffering, because you often talk with people online, that suffering uh, is a motivation to become determined to end your suffering. And by that, you are driven to keep up your practice. Because once you hit rock bottom, it's easy to be open to new possibilities.
Yeah.
Because
Solution.
I came to realize for myself everything I had done so far had led me to become severely ill.
Mm.
So I was open to anything new. Knew I had to change my life completely if I had to have a chance to improve my situation. And that brings us to why we started this life, because we were lying here in the dark and we were both wide awake.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's the point? And I was
getting a
reading,
bit amorous.
I was reading my Kindle, and I was today I published a book about dimensions, multi-universes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and that brought us to well, let's go live and have a talk about it, because Tumu and all the other practices brings you to becoming a body of light. You end your suffering. But while we are here, we live in a certain dimension, a certain reality, which we take that as our only reality. But when you look at the dimensions and what the theories are, the string theory, the M theory we just
There's a bit
talked
over
about.
most people's heads, mind though.
Yes, there's a lot
over
of
my
theories, but that brought us to this live broadcast, that there is much more than we are aware of and realize. We should be open to the
Yeah.
possibilities that there is.
Yeah. And
Sorry.
that means, right, I always knew this, but it means that every possible outcome of different combinations of atoms has an infinite amount of replications.
Yeah.
And that means that you and me and Ahiranta, somewhere in the multiple universes, we are Batman and Robin.
And Superwoman or Wonder Woman. No, it's true. I just said to Jose, I said there must be a naughty version because I'm Missy Cootie Two Shoes. I'm boring, really. I'm always afraid to get in trouble, so I stay between the lines. But sometimes I wish I would have been a bit more naughty. But there must be somewhere in another universe exactly as I look, blah blah blah, but very naughty. I like her already. Yeah. But it's interesting, those things,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
And lately I am focusing on the 6 yogas to create a framework, and I put the books out there for people who are. The Tumu book is selling the best.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And from all over the world, Japan. It's translated in Japanese as well. Germany, Canada. I've seen UK,
Australia.
USA,
It's
Australia.
translated to Australian, Scottish.
kangaroo language.
Welsh? No, not
Yeah.
Welsh. Welsh is another language.
India, because lots and lots of our subscribers come from India. Welcome. Lovely. We have never been to India in this life, but yeah.
Namaste.
It looks beautiful over there. But
Yeah.
so if you have any questions, leave them down below. Tomorrow, after we have hopefully had a few hours of sleep, we will have a look at the comments. But so we practice Tumu because it is winter as well. So we have chosen that practice at the moment because it doesn't matter if you start with, there's a framework, but if you want to start somewhere else, that's possible.
Mind
as
you,
well.
I have found that when you sit in meditation, we have a back room out there which catches all the cold weather. I don't know why, because it should be this side. But anyway, in this room out there, and I've sat out there when it's been like sub-zero, and you go in there first, and not this year yet, mind. But you go in there and you think, oh God, it's cold. And then as soon as you get to a certain pitch of inner silence, you don't feel the cold anymore. And I think that is what happens in the Himalayas. I could probably, if I get more deeply into my meditation, I'm pretty sure that I can sit in very cold temperatures and be okay, because there's something happens inside you. Your heart rate slows. I don't know.
How warm was it in prison? Was there a radiator in your cell?
Yeah, it wasn't cold in there.
Ah.
I don't think so. But
there was not even a toilet, but there was a radiator.
I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't think there was a radiator.
Don't remember.
No.
But there might have been.
I don't think so.
I remember there was a window right up high,
and
then only a bit of daylight coming through. But anyway, I think that I've never gone and sat up in freezing Himalayas because I've never seen a need for it. But obviously the Buddhist monks, certain Buddhist monks, certain sector of them, they go and sit up in the mountains in the cold to try to prove something. But I think that if you're a really deep meditator, that you can probably sit in pretty extreme temperatures, both hot and cold.
We could try it one day. We have caves here in the UK.
Yeah.
And when we have a fan again, because we are without a fan at the moment, ours is broken.
Yeah.
We could give that a go and
but
even go live as well.
I need, in order to get there, I need to do at least 3 hours of meditation a day. And I'm only doing like 1 hour a day to keep me moderate, because if I do more than 2 hours a day, then I start becoming too different from everyone else.
Yeah.
I got to stay.
He needs to stay, my man.
Yeah.
His wife still needs him. Yeah.
You become
your householder, they call it in the Indian.
Although your heart fills up with heart stuff, your brain, your personality goes away.
Yeah.
And I'm no person.
You become very quiet, very still.
And it makes people around you feel very uncomfortable. And so out of whatever you want to call it, you have to be honest. My consort.
Yes.
This is my consort.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that is nice that you mentioned that, because there's also in that series we also published a book about the consort, isn't it? And that is we should have brought those books up.
That's not related to Tumo, though, is it?
No, it's one of them.
Is it a branch of it?
Yeah,
okay.
We have 6 of them. That's why I said we should have brought it open, because it's connected to the 6 chakras as well, and they all have the function. So some people who need a certain kind, because some of those practices helps you to deal with emotions, for example. And then you don't do the Tumu practice, but you do the Oklum practice, for example. I don't know if I pronounced that right. So you can start from different chakras depending on your situation.
Oh, right. Well, so there's different practices to. All right, that's interesting.
Yeah, you can practice on your heart chakra. They call it chakra in a certain traditional centers.
That breathing the light through your nostrils, bringing it into your back and condensing it.
That is from the Tumu. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's others that also use
And
the bread.
it achieves the same thing?
Similar, yeah. But well,
It's
in the
interesting.
end, it is part of the same package. It is a different door to start from. That's how I
Yeah,
understand it.
that needs quite a lot of thought put to that then.
Yeah.
Discovering that, because what I was talking about, how because what I did to develop love at the moment, I'm calling uh, that energy to develop in your belly, love, like the same as up there, same as it is all love, like, but different kind of grades of it. And I used absolute inner stillness first, and then I would read a story, a touching story from the Bible, and then it would give me a feeling, a strong feeling, dependent on how poor I became. And of course, as it went on, it became more and more and more, and it became more and more powerful. And then this would be powerful, and so I developed that feeling that way. But what they're doing is developing it through visualization,
Mm.
and so that's interesting that there are other methods that they use to develop the same thing.
Yeah. And a different door, like the deities.
Yeah,
You can also
yeah,
start meditating, and then you choose a diet. I hope I say it right.
deity.
Deity.
Uh,
You choose a deity that resonate with you, and then you use your visualization that you become
the,
that deity. And that's also again to cultivate that love, that
and
fire.
the one they use the most is Haruka, and Haruka
It's a
is,
choice.
yeah,
Everybody can
yeah, but
choose.
most of the Buddhists, apparently, from what the
Ah,
bit I read, they
okay.
use Haruka, which is the deity of love and compassion,
There you
and
go. It's the
it,
fire again.
yeah,
It's the fire in your belly
yeah,
to cultivate that, to
it's love.
fan the fire. You always say fan the fire. And so that is another one of the 6 yogas. And you built an
Yeah,
altar in
to
your
remind
room.
you.
Yeah,
Uh,
because and you really reverence, and you do offerings, and uh, before you start really looking into, you think what a nonsense, but it helps. It depends of what platform you start from.
yeah, it's a bit like in Christian is the same as Buddhism, because in Christian you use Jesus as your deity,
Yeah,
and then you go and do the ritual of drinking his blood, which is a glass of wine, and then eating his flesh, which is his bread, and then you become Jesus because you've eaten his flesh, you've drunk his blood, you become holy, you feel
yeah,
holy. So
again,
it's about the way you feel.
love.
So you
Yeah,
develop in love. Jesus
yeah,
is love.
same thing.
Jesus is God.
Absolutely, it's
So
the same thing in a different code.
yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
and every one of those practices then is to do with developing love.
Mm, yeah,
There
yeah.
you go. I think,
And some doesn't do visualization, devotion, breathing is often a part of it.
so
Yeah,
I just added another one to the Buddhist
I look it
one,
up. You talk, I
which
look
is
it up for a minute.
the process I went through. Like I said, I give you a quick rundown of it,
Yeah,
and sitting for hours and hours, becoming empty, totally still, picking up a story, and then allowing the feeling to manifest within you, hold it there, and then don't think of the story anymore, but hold the feeling there. Then you sit back in meditation, and in the meditation you fan it. That's how I used to feel it. Um, I would get that feeling. I was never told any of this, but yet I knew I had to keep that feeling with me. And then I would go into the meditation feeling really, really euphoric or blissful. And the more I found it, the more blissful it became. So just from a story in the Bible, and then from the inner purity, and like I said, the more pure you become, the more um, concentrated that feeling gets, and then eventually the light takes over, and then bang, you're gone. Time goes then. So it's another method you can try using. I think that's easy for me. That's easier because what I used to do was still my mind, and I've learned that stilling your mind is probably one of the hardest forms of meditation. But for me, it seemed to be the easiest. Maybe because of what happened to me when I was a kid.
Yeah, your
That
mind was so
silence,
still. Yeah.
and it went through a long time with me later as well. You know, I never used to think when a lot of people were thinking, and I used to think there was something wrong with me for not thinking.
Yeah.
And then I tried to think more, and but really it never left me, that inner silence. So it was beneficial in a
Yeah.
way I never thought it would be. Really.
Yeah. I just pulled up just as a reminder because I've been putting together so many books lately. Another way is dream yoga, so that you become lucid in your dream state. There's another door
Yeah.
that you can increase your awareness,
Yeah.
because that is, and that create in itself a focus. You need to be able to generate that love, and you need a concentrated focus so that you don't go away on your thoughts, yeah, that you are taken. So that's another way you
Yeah.
can start off.
I remember when I first heard about those chakras, they called them.
Yes,
And
energy centers.
I
Yeah.
would hear people like talk about them because I used to go to the spiritualist church because there was manifestations around this house, and well, I won't go into that, but I needed to find out something about what was going on inside this house because there was phenomena going on, and so I sat over there in circles trying to understand what the message was that wanted to be passed on to me. And then I would come across people who would talk about these chakras, and it's a spinning ball of light, this one, and then this one's a spinning blue light, and then this one's a spinning red light.
Yeah.
And
They have colors.
I thought, like, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to those people, but was it imagination? Or I couldn't relate to it. I couldn't look in myself and see, other than that they use their imagination in a certain way. And so, you know, if you want to, I mean, I can imagine there's pink elephants flying out there and make it real in my mind. But what benefit is that if you're not going to get anything from it?
It helps you to create focus.
Yeah.
To stay with that red light or whatever light attracts you.
But these people, they read about it, blue light, red light, spinning discs and what have you, and then it's not like you spoke about the Tumo, where they would use a visualization and a meditation to keep it going for hours on end, if you can, and then you develop that being of light. These people, they keep it in there, and it's intellectual.
Yeah.
It doesn't go in any of the other centers.
Experiential.
Yeah, it's not
knowing, experiential knowing.
Yeah, so
you need to practice.
Yeah, it's not practice. It's
Yeah.
this intellectual ego,
Yeah,
really.
but
And
then it doesn't matter what
then
you read, nothing
it's like,
happens.
you know, you get these people discussing, oh yes, and I had this, and I saw that, and I saw this, like, and and it's just
fairy tale land.
It's not for me to judge, like, you know. I mean, I'm on.
No, but a spade is a spade.
Yeah.
If you don't practice, if you don't put it, nothing happens.
If it's only kept in the head, and if it's only if you're hungry to read books and get more and more information without practicing anything, then it's just useless.
Yeah.
It's good for your ego, of course, when you can talk to this other woman in the group, like, and say, oh yeah, well, you know, and this and that, and it's all about talk. But the real practice is being on your own in silence as long as you can and get the being going.
Yeah. Well, because I create all those books at the moment, but one of them, of the 6 yogas, is the illusory body. And the illusory body, that is also a practice. And what that does is, like what happened in your meditation, you lose, your body disappears. The sense of your body, it falls away. And that is another door.
Yeah.
So if you keep focusing on that, increasing, and then you lose your attachments. Because we are attached to our body. We think it's really important to have this body. So by that, you can't become a body of light because you're so tense. Every cell of us, inside of us, is tense because we want to keep it. We want to hold on to it.
Yeah.
So the illusory body meditation is also a door.
And did you know that breathing is actually attachment to life? I know that sounds strange, but in the meditation that I did, I would examine everything in me, every thought, why it was there, and then the final thing to examine was my breath.
Yeah.
And do you know that? And there was every thought had a relationship to a feeling, right? A feeling like attachment to something. And so I I came down to the last thing, and that was the breath. And when I breathe in, I'm holding on to life. I'm grabbing life. That's my insecurity, or it's like it relates to the feeling of insecurity. So I draw in, I'm grasping life, and then I'm breathing out. I'm dying. I'm releasing life. And then what happens when the enlightenment comes? The last thing you recognize is the out breath, the letting go of life. And they say it's a death. It is a death because you stop breathing and you let go of the breath. And the breath is the last thing that holds you to the body. And then you're free after that. So it's that's the last thing. The last attachment is your breath and your breathing before the enlightenment. The Buddhas, though, they use the tumo as a process to get you to that place, the enlightenment. So that that practice is before enlightenment. So, and what I noticed when I practiced the tumo is that every once in a while, everything would stop all of a sudden, and then I would be in that total stillness, it like just for a moment, and then I would remember, oh, I'm doing tumo. And then I realized after that the tumo will actually, well, they say it in the lineage books that the tumo will actually take you to enlightenment, because what happens is you lose everything except the breathing. And the breathing becomes real. It becomes uh, indistinguishable between you and the object. That is, the object is the meditation. So there's you making it happen, and then suddenly that you disappears. You become the movement, and then after a while, everything stops.
Yeah.
Because everything.
The body falls
Yeah.
away, mind falls
And
away. Yeah.
so it's a way to enlightenment. That's all, because it's
They
the
all
focus.
are. All those
Yeah.
techniques of the yogas are.
You've got to lose the thing that's making it happen, the thing that's talking, the thing that's thinking, the thing that gets bored or wants to get out of it, the thing that's thinking about the lunch or whatever. You lose that.
Yeah, and for example, because Jose guided me on my path of, he did it without any guidance. I did it under his guidance. And he would sit next to my bed and talk to me hours and hours, just, to keep me also occupied. But also I learned from his stories, and I have written, you have written your story down, and I created books from them. And I can still enjoy reading all your stories. But one thing you told me was, because I couldn't move my body, but I could use my mind most of the time. So he taught me how to reason to 0 point, how to contemplate and concentrate. And by that, because in my head it was a whirlwind of thoughts, could not stop. There was just no caps between my thoughts. One after the other, I was so lost in all those thoughts. I was the thoughts. And due to your practice, by just looking at them, and that is one of the other yogas, they call it the view of emptiness. I have it here, the view of emptiness. So you try to look for the little empty moments between the thoughts. So that's another door where you can start from. That is how I have done it. Looking at my breath and looking at my thoughts. So every time I was just looking, I didn't try to stop the thoughts, but I was looking at the thoughts without judgment. And then before I knew it, I was off. My focus was lost. I was on a train of thoughts wherever, putting myself on a train to Japan, or putting the holiday pictures in an album or some, I was taken without choosing to think it. I was just going there as a slave. But as soon as I became aware that I was again lost my focus, I would focus on my breath first. Because as soon as you think, there's tension in your body. So the breath was my vehicle to start with, and as when my body was, you check it. That's a yoga nidra actually. I did that a lot. As soon as all the tensions in my body were gone, it's because under the tension is a tension and a tension, but the more you become aware, you will find the most smallest tension possible in your cell level even. But that is after practice. The importance of this talk is to tell people it is possible to stop your suffering. It is possible to become enlightened, but it takes dedication and determination, and to create that time in your life to sit with yourself, because there is so much distraction around us, especially now with the beautiful technology like the internet, that we can connect with all people over the world. That's the most beautiful thing. But it can also takes us, and it can become overwhelming, isn't it? We can become overloaded.
Yeah, mince meat your brain.
Yeah, I live in a pink bubble, I call it. I don't have notifications coming onto my phone. I choose when I want to see if there is a message. And if there is a message, I choose if I want to read it or not. So I made my world safe. There's so much going on. So I live in a pink bubble. That doesn't mean I don't know that there is a lot of suffering going on. But the suffering we go through is all generated by myself. All the suffering that I go through, I am the creator of that. And when I became aware of that, that's when I could change my life. That's when I started becoming a very happy woman, really. Content, grateful. I also wrote a book about gratitude, the importance of gratitude, and not always grasping about I want more, I want this, I want, but be really grateful for what you have, no matter how little it is. So yeah, that Timo brings you there too, actually. They are all different doors. They have different names, different traditions, but never get lost in it. They are all frameworks. You did it without a framework.
They all bring the same eventuality. Like what Ahiranta was talking about, then looking at the thoughts. Well, to start with, when you were given an idea, right, and the idea is to look at the thoughts. But what you actually do in the beginning is a thought thinking about a thought, looking at it. So like, because what you do is like you sit in the meditation, and what happens is a thought comes in, and then you're not actually looking at it, but after the thought happens, you think, oh, I just had a thought. So you're kind of behind the thought. So you kind of, a thought comes up, then you're behind it. You think, oh, I just had a thought.
That's just the awareness,
and then this keeps happening in the beginning. And then what happens eventually is you're aware of the thought rising as it comes. And then eventually you get behind the thought. Then when that happens, it's like, now the thoughts are moving in, now the thoughts are moving out. And this thing here is looking at the thoughts.
The observer, I called it.
And it's not there in the beginning. It's only the thought of it is there in the beginning. And you can convince yourself that my awareness was looking at it. But if you really examine it, you have a thought, and then you was looking at it later. Oh, I had that thought. I'm looking at it. No, you're not. It's not really looking at it. But when you develop that the awareness that does see the thoughts, then what you're doing then, this thing gets stronger and stronger and stronger.
By practice.
Yeah, and what happens is you become this as opposed to this and this afterthought. Right, so you're no longer these two things. And this is what they call your awareness. You become aware, and you become, the stronger this gets, you become, it's like that is the container of these thoughts, but now the container have become awareness and free from the thoughts. When the awareness is free from the thoughts, you become free. You no longer suffer.
You're no longer the slave.
Because you are detached from those thoughts. And
It's a
that's
beautiful experience, actually,
mm,
and everybody can do it. It
yeah,
just
takes
takes
time.
time,
Mm.
determination, non-judgment, because I was very judgmental towards myself, low self-esteem, very self-criticizing. That's now completely forbidden in this house, because what you think is what you become. So if you think really bad things about yourself, you will make yourself ill, mentally and physically, because they are connected.
Yeah. What the Buddhists tell you, what do they tell you? And they tell you in the lineage, they tell you to become Haruka or become uh, Haruka is the being of compassion, is a god.
Yeah.
You become a god. And like the funniest thing is, Jesus said, become like a child when he was asked by, was it Thomas or somebody? I don't know. Somebody asked him, one of his
Don't know.
disciples, how do I become like this? He said, grabbed hold of the kid, said, this is it. And children, right, they watch superheroes and they become the superheroes. And the funniest thing about spiritual evolution is you go through this process of be like children, they play doctors and nurses, and then when they get older, they just older doctors and nurses play and they become unreal and they think they're real. And then when you go into spiritual life, you become the child again.
Mm.
You become
Yeah.
the superhero,
Yeah.
and because you recognize that all that crap all that self destroying
Yeah.
was a waste of energy and time. You've got a choice. You can become the child again, the
Yeah.
superhero, the god,
Yeah.
the loving being.
You can be whatever you choose
Yeah,
to be.
there's no need to be
Yeah.
depressed or anything. You free yourself.
Yeah.
You imprison yourself just with
Yeah.
this. You so if you get up tomorrow morning and you remember what we were talking about, you say to yourself,
Make a
today,
choice.
today I'm gonna be one of these deities. And what is this deity? I chose one, which is interesting. The first one I was drawn to was because it's a practice. Being a deity is a practice.
That's right.
It's not just about being children. It's a practice
It's a
because
tool. Yeah.
what did you say earlier? What you think is what you become.
Yes.
So if I think I'm what was it? Yamantaka. Yamantaka is a Buddhist deity, and I've always been looking at my life as an opportunity to overcome the aging and Yamantaka and to prolong life. And I'm not scared of dying, but I would like humanity to progress, to evolve past what is in now. And in order to do that, you need to prolong your life, live
Become an
forever.
example. Yeah.
Hence why I'm drawn to beings of light and why they are around us sometimes. And Yamantaka was everything that I wish to possess. And he's the destroyer of death and he lives forever. And love and compassion, of course, and they are the main ingredients. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, choose one of your deities, and that's who you're going to be.
Yeah. Research them. There's
Yeah.
endless amount of
Do you
them.
see these paintbrushes? This was all paintbrushes we did. And we would get up, this was when she was 5 years in bed. We would get up every day.
I was painting in the bed,
Yeah.
actually.
We would get up
Yeah.
every day. We would add strokes to these images.
Yeah.
And then they became real,
Yeah.
as you can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
And that's the same as you. You add strokes to yourself every day. Confirm you want. If you want to be Jesus, you're Jesus.
Yeah. If
Or
you want Buddha, you become
I know,
Buddha.
but some people think that that's not
Or
it. But
green Tara, white
yeah,
Tara, Bodhisattva.
and that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's very important as well. If you want to live healthy and strong, and I need to practice that a lot due to circumstances, is every thought you think is having an influence on your well-being. Positive thoughts will make you light. The more happy you are, positive you are, and sadly enough, most people experience happiness because an external happening to them makes them happy because they feel appreciated or they have been given something, but by that they are dependent upon an external source. What we are talking about is internal. So you find your inner source of happiness
And no one will
by,
take it away from you.
Yes, because that is an eternal, infinite source. So one of the practices which is very important, you can do that continuously. You don't need to sit in meditation because there are also meditations in action, let's call them like that. And that means you practice in all your daily um, activities or even when you sit still. And that means you never ever think bad about yourself. You never ever judge yourself, because every time we do that, we damage ourselves, and by that you age your body much faster than it should, because it creates tremendous tension. But if you forgive yourself, because in the Christian Bible, we are not Christians, but you know the Bible, they talk about forgiveness. When you confess, that means you accept, really. When people go to confession, they think that God in the clouds is forgiving them. No, that's not how it works at all. You are God. Everybody is the God force, a life force. When you go to confession, then you confess and make you don't make it real, but you say, yeah, that's what I done. Yeah, good that you acknowledge it, because you are forgiven by speaking it out.
Essence.
Yeah, you let it out.
Your essence, nature judges you.
Yes.
It's God.
So there's many interesting things that people misunderstand, because there are not many people around who talk as we do and from our own experience. So always, if you make a mistake, doesn't matter. That is where we learn from. Don't beat yourself up. Look at it. How can I do it different the next time, and move on. And always be gentle, not only to yourself but to your partner. I worship this man, and he worships me, not because we have to, but because it's a natural outcome from our inner practice. I want just the best for him, and he wishes the best for me, and by that we have a tremendously loving relationship. And so always be nice to yourself. It starts with yourself. I was always trying to be nice to other people in the hope, that they would accept me or like me. So it was not a free giving, it was a trade. I tried to bribe them, really, with my kindness. Now my kindness is pure, it flows automatically, and it doesn't matter if they like me or don't give my kindness back towards me, because it's given without expectation. So there is so much we can talk about, but if I can give you one thing today, it is be kind to yourself. That's where it starts. If we all are kind to ourselves, this world where we now in, we will transform. We will transform our world, because when you are kind to yourself, you cannot be horrible to another person, because they are you, and I am them. So that all comes by just spending time with yourself. Take every day a moment to sit with yourself. And some people find it helpful to spend with journaling. Journaling, is that how I say it right? You write it down in a book, you write your thoughts down, and all that does is it makes you aware. If you don't judge yourself, and edit yourself, oh, I don't want to write that down because it makes me look like a bad person. No, write everything down, really honest, because it starts with honesty, isn't it? In your meditation too, you had to face your demons, wasn't it?
Yes, you have to crucify everything that you usually protect.
Yeah.
Like somebody, for instance, today said to me, I started, now Zuckerberg, he's allowed
free speech again.
Free speech again on Facebook, because I used to have a great time doing Crazy Wisdom.
Yes.
And that meant it was free speech. But then he started, chopping into it with all these rules. And
how many times was you banned?
I had to make a lot of profiles, and I lost dozens of them.
You must hold a record.
Yeah, and somebody called me a narcissist today.
Oh.
And like,
because you speak the truth, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I said, yeah, it's good to be a narcissist. It's another one of these psychological words somebody come up with, and then suddenly it's all around the internet, like, you know, and that person and that, and then you see these things. Oh, this is a narcissist person, and the thing is, like, this narcissist idea came from psychologists that would use ancient Greek stories to say something was bad, like, but they were in era of Christian rule, where they used ethics from the Christian Bible, and in the Bible it said not to be vain, and so people took that as like they don't love themselves anymore. A narcissist was turned into a demon. He looked in a pool, saw his own reflection, fell in love with himself. That's vain. No, it's not vain. You need to fall in love with yourself.
Yeah.
And I said something like, "Yeah, I'm happy with being a narcissist because it's important to love yourself. You have to love yourself first, and then you can. Once you know this in you, it's not loving yourself as your mind loves you, but it's discovering like an energizing pool inside yourself. Man, I touch it, and I'm wow. This is me, love. Yeah, that that feeling,
Oh,
the blissful love that you are, and then when you touch it in yourself, it's out there.
yeah.
You see it in everyone. You touch it in everyone. You only see it in everyone. That is okay.
Yeah, but the fact that they call you a narcissist is just because the difference is
Because I laugh at myself.
OSE works online with people who seek guidance, but that is a really small amount of people. The majority of people OSE comes across are people who are there for eco fulfillment, and when they can't penetrate OSE's wisdom, which he shares, and he shares it in a nonsense way. Truth is the truth, and it depends on the person he talks to. If he
Yeah,
talks to a very
motivation.
vulnerable person, he adjusts like Buddha did. If I may share a story that I have heard, Buddha has apparently said, I wasn't there, so I can't verify it, but let's say he said this. He said a seeker, one of his closest seekers, was beside him and said, Buddha, um, the people come here, some ask the same question, you give different answers. And that is how you work as well. It depends on where the people are at, where they stand. You have a few very vulnerable people who come
Yeah,
to you for guidance, and those people you talk different to, give different answers to, because of where
yeah,
platform they come from. So the group of people that call you a narcissist are the intellectual people who can't win an argument. They are there to win an argument.
yeah,
They are there to protect and really guard their intellectual knowledge and their
yeah,
beliefs. Whereas Ose comes from his experience, and they clash with a
yeah.
lot of egos, and then they can't win, and then they call you a narcissist. You are nothing but that at all. You're the most loving, giving person in this world.
I am
And
narcissist.
now you're an empathetic person. You're very, very kind. But those people will never want to see that, because
Yeah,
that doesn't. They
I
create
see them
all
straight
those
away.
people create. There is so many different OCs in a multi.
Mm.
Let's go full circle here.
Many eyes.
In the many universes, because every individual you come across, every individual you come across lives in their own created universe, and in that universe they create a thought who Ose is. But only the true seekers who know themselves will see Ose, because he is just them. Same,
Well,
exactly the
some
same.
people ask questions because they think they already know the answers,
Yes.
and
They want to show how
they
much they
want to
know.
empower their ego,
Yeah.
and then those people for me are lovely to have a debate with.
Yeah, you
But
love that, don't you?
yeah, I used to love it, but
Yeah.
Zuckerberg put all those rules, and then they used to use all these. It became ego battle. Then it was I was the famous ego slaughterer, as I
Yes.
was called.
Yes.
But what it was, the discussions or the ego battle would be interesting. It was illuminating because it was the process you use in meditation. Um, something comes up, something gets looked at and dealt with, and then blah blah blah, and then we delve into everything. And yeah, sometimes the speech got a bit out of hand, but it was good for me. It was a lot of good things happened from that. But you had those people whose egos were really, really determined to win, to destroy the other person because it's a battle,
Yeah.
and so they would use all the dirty tricks, and then I would lose
I
my
call your names, and
yeah.
then they still can't get a reaction out of you. And
Uh,
then they report you, and then you're banned.
yeah.
But you have to remember, though, a lot. I'm not sure what the age is from
Yeah.
the viewers,
Mm.
but I many of you hopefully still remember how we started with the internet. We started with email groups when we started conversing with people from other parts of the world through the internet. It was email, through email. So you could say what you needed to say, and that person could take time and react. Now it's instant, 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 instant. And name calling because the ego gets triggered.
Yeah.
And then when they can't win, I
Can I
one
finish
email.
off
Can
now?
I have one email?
Okay.
No, can I? I got an email. I stay away from every confrontation. I don't like
It's work
the
for me.
way OC works is totally different. Maybe testosterone, estrogen. I don't know if that has to do with it, but anyway. I got an email one day from somebody who was conversing with OC through emails. That was, the early 2000s.
Mm.
And the person asked me, "What's wrong with OC? Can you please do something about it?" Or something. It was something like that, wasn't it? I had to do something about him because the way he was talking to that person, that was after first a really nice relationship for months, and then it became deeper, and they took offense, and so they come to complain to me. I needed to do something. Of course, I told them where to go, but yeah, the communication is developing so fast at the moment on the internet. So the fact that that guy from, what is it, Facebook, has said he is going
Zuckerberg.
to he's going to loosen the rein a bit. I hope he doesn't go too far, because there need to be a protection. There need to be a little bit of, we need to keep our children safe on
Well,
the
X
internet.
X have brought it back because Zuckerberg is going to lose a lot of credibility because X is getting it all, and they're allowing free speech, which
Yeah.
is all I ask for. And
Yeah.
so there was
As long as
there
it's not
was
malicious,
yeah
eh?
there was a type that already thought they knew the answers before
Mm.
they'd ask a question, they already think they know the answer, and then that would get into a debate which became crazy wisdom.
Yeah.
And then there's the others who genuinely ask a question, they genuinely want an answer. And they had about like one, what I remember, like I haven't been in those debates for a while, maybe they're going to start back up again now. I'm starting to get the feel for it. And you get about 1 in every 10 people would ask genuinely, well, how is that possible? How
Yeah.
can I do that?
Yeah.
And so you just you just know straight away the people who wants to debate, which is all good because in the end, not all of those people that debate you is going to jump off the high horse, and because as much as I throw out, this is as much as I take, and I try to be the example. Look, see, you just done that, and it does
Mm.
nothing to me, but if I do that to you, and
The mirroring
it
is
destroys you,
interesting.
like
Yeah.
and I'm not there to destroy you, but that which hurts you.
Mm.
And it's like so you kind of you're either going to be a wall and catch all the shit, or not going to be a wall, and when shit is thrown, it passes over, like.
Yeah.
And like,
What I notice is that the true seekers, people are truly seeking to end their suffering, are people with a few words.
well, I became more when I developed that, I called it crazy wisdom, and I didn't know it was already available. Somebody else, Chog Yam Trungpa Rinpoche, and that's an interesting story, but I won't go there because we'd be up all night talking about it. But anyway, it developed like it started off on Google Chats or
Yahoo.
Yahoo, and then we had groups and we had really fiery discussions, and I loved it. And I made I would have an enemy to start with, and then we become friends. And some of those people I met in Yahoo are still with me now, like 20 odd years later.
Yeah.
And so because it was dynamic, and it's a way of discovering. Oh, that hurt me, and then I would say, well, look. First of all, we kick our egos off, and then the ego is like defense mechanisms, like you're protecting something that doesn't exist, and then I'd attack it, and then and then after it I'd say something like, "Well, after all the heat dies down, I'd say you was very vulnerable there. I hurt you, but that don't really exist. That's just in there." And then they, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I understand what you mean now. Not everyone, of course,
No.
understood it, but it was a pleasure to see, those people that did understand when the penny dropped. Then it would be a nice thing to see, and so
Yeah.
that was
But the truest seeker that I have seen so far, not in the decades that you have been doing this now, is somebody who reads most of our work and just sparsely says a few words or asks a very deep question and then says thank you and then um, puts it in working, puts it in practice.
yeah.
And that those seekers are sadly enough still far in between. But
Mm,
they are out there.
yeah,
They're out
yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's it now.
Yeah. What time is it? It is way.
2:06.
It is in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we still are wide awake. So I think this is going to be a sleepless night. But we meditate. I do. I try to sleep. Can't. Read a little bit. Meditate. Try to sleep. And then I
Two
fall
more.
asleep around 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it normally
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody who joined us. And some will watch this when it already has been recorded the next day or weeks later. So don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up if you can. Really appreciate that. And we see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
So now one of us has to turn it off. Woohoo! You better keep it all covered. Oh, there you go. See you next time. No idea how to turn it off, darling. You have to have a. Now it's on the top, maybe?
Um,
Is there a cross? I see something in the left corner on the top.
are you sure that you want to stop
Yeah.
streaming?
Bye.